My fiancée left me for my rival. I stayed silent. Then I sent her new boyfriend the receipts for every bill she owed. 48 hours later, she came back begging. I, 29 male, am writing this because the last 72 hours have been so surreal. I need to document them somewhere to prove to myself I didn't imagine the whole thing. Last Friday night, my fiancée, Lisa, 28, sat me down on the edge of our bed. The one I'd paid for. In the apartment where I paid 80% of the rent. She gave me the whole self-pitying, "This is harder for me than it is for you" speech. She said she'd fallen out of love with me and in love with someone else. Someone who truly saw her. That someone is Anthony. For context, Anthony has been my professional rival for 5 years. We're in the same niche tech industry. He's the slick presentation, big promises guy who thrives on schmoozing. I'm the quiet, head down, deliver flawless code guy. We've been pitted against each other for the same projects, the same clients. He's the kind of guy who remembers your one minor setback from 3 years ago and brings it up at company parties as a teachable moment joke. Seeing him at our engagement party, his arm a little too familiar around Lisa's waist, felt like a splinter under my nail. I just never realized it was a shard of glass working its way to my heart. Lisa's confession was brutally efficient. She said she was moving out, effective immediately. She had bags already packed in her car. I didn't shout. I didn't plead or bargain. I just felt this strange, icy calm wash over me as the emotional part of my brain went into shock and the logical part took the wheel. I looked at her, the woman I thought I'd be building a future with, and all I could say was, "Okay." That one word seemed to rattle her more than any explosion would have. She expected a scene, a fight, something to help her justify the betrayal and paint me as the unstable one. She got nothing. I stood there, motionless, as she carried her last 2 boxes out. She wouldn't meet my eyes. The silence in the apartment afterward was absolute. For about an hour, I just sat there. The grief was a physical pressure in my chest, but it was contained. Instead, a different part of my brain was booting up. The practical part, the part that designs systems and analyzes data for a living. Lisa hadn't worked consistently for the past 2 years. She was on a journey of finding herself, a journey I had, in my love-blind foolishness, agreed to bankroll. Her car insurance, her phone bill, the rent shortfall she conveniently forgot each month, the new MacBook for her freelance graphic design career that never landed a single client. The credit card I gave her for groceries and essentials that somehow always had charges from designer boutiques and day spas. I never checked too closely. I loved her. I trusted her. One particular item gnawed at me with vicious teeth. My custom-built gaming PC. It's my sanctuary. I spent over $4,000 on the components and countless hours building and tweaking it to perfection. It's my one real hobby, my escape. Anthony is also a big gamer, hyper-competitive. In the last few months, Lisa had suddenly feigned interest. "You should show Anthony your setup sometime. He'd be so impressed." I see now she wasn't admiring my passion. She was window shopping for her new man. So for the next 24 hours, I didn't wallow. I didn't drink. I opened my banking apps, my credit card portals, and I created a spreadsheet. Every Venmo request I'd covered, every bill, every big-ticket item. I added dates, descriptions, and links to the digital receipts. I was meticulous. I found the explicit loans, like the $4,500 I sent her for an emergency car engine repair, with her text promising, "I'll pay you back every penny from my first big client." I found the $3,000 I loaned her to cover a supposed family medical bill, complete with a melodramatic backstory. I found the $2,500 bank transfer, memoed, startup investment, for a friend's jewelry business that never materialized. I added it all up, including her share of rent and utilities she'd skipped. The grand total was a breathtaking $21,427.81. I didn't know what I was going to do with this document. At first, it was just for me, a monument to my own willful ignorance. Then, this morning, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Lisa. "Hey, hope you're not being too dramatic about things. Just wondering, when would be a good time for Anthony to swing by and pick up the PC? He's really excited to use it and has already cleared a space for it." The sheer, unmitigated audacity of it burned away the last wisps of my grief. And that's when I knew exactly what I was going to do. Update. The kettle has boiled and the resulting screeching is more satisfying than I could have imagined. Things have escalated, and I am merely a passenger observing the crash. After Lisa's astonishing text about my PC, I didn't reply to her. I let it sit there on read. I knew that my silence would be more unnerving than any angry response. Instead, I put the finishing touches on my spreadsheet. I converted it to a clean, professional-looking PDF. I titled it, Lisa's Outstanding Debts and Personal Loans, 2023-2025. Then, I looked up Anthony's work email. It wasn't hard to find. I drafted a new message, keeping the tone cheerful and businesslike. Subject, a friendly handover and congratulations. Hi Anthony, heard the news about you and Lisa. Congratulations on your new relationship, wishing you both the best. Since you're taking on a supportive role in her life now, I thought it would be helpful to give you a clear financial picture moving forward. Lisa mentioned you were coming to pick up some things from the apartment, and it occurred to me that in the excitement of it all, she might have forgotten to mention her outstanding financial obligations to me. Attached is a detailed breakdown of the personal loans and significant shared expenses I covered for her over the last 22 months, with the explicit understanding they'd be repaid once she was financially stable. The total is $21,427.81. I'm sure a successful man like yourself will want to start your new life together on a clean slate. Let me know which payment method you'd prefer for settling the balance. All the best, Matthew. I attached the PDF and hit send. Then I made myself a large cup of coffee and waited. It took less than 15 minutes for the first shockwave to hit. My phone began to vibrate uncontrollably. It was Lisa, a rapid-fire barrage of texts. WTF, Matthew? You sent Anthony a spreadsheet? Are you insane? This is a private matter. You're trying to ruin my life. He thinks I'm some kind of user now. This is so humiliating. You told me you were happy to help me out. You're twisting everything to make me look bad. I ignored them all. About an hour later, an email from Anthony. It was short and bristling with arrogance. Is this a joke? I replied instantly. Not at all. I have every digital receipt and bank statement. The major items totaling over $10,000 were explicit loans backed by text message confirmations. Happy to forward the originals if you need verification. Check the dates. The loan for the family medical bill from last November is a good place to start. Hope everything turned out okay with that. Silence. Beautiful, heavy, expensive silence. For the rest of the day, my phone was a toxic cocktail of furious voicemails from Lisa and dozens more texts that swung wildly between venomous rage and pathetic pleading. Then, at 9 p.m. last night, there was a hard knock on my door. It was Lisa. Her face was blotchy, her eyes wild. The cool, confident woman who dumped me was gone, replaced by a cornered animal. Matthew, please, she started, trying to push past me into the apartment. I put a hand on the door, blocking her way. You have to tell him it's a joke. You were angry, and you made it all up. What part was made up, Lisa? I asked, my voice flat. The car repair? The business investment? Or the rent you haven't paid your share of in 6 months? You know what I mean. You said you wanted to support my dream, she cried, her voice cracking. I was supporting a partner. You stopped being my partner weeks, maybe months ago. You just kept cashing the checks while you were sleeping with my rival. That's not a partnership. That's a service, and payment is now due. She actually flinched as if I'd slapped her. That's not fair. I loved you. I'm sure you did, I said. But love doesn't pay the bills. You and Anthony wanted a fresh start. I'm just helping you scrub the slate clean. The price is $21,427.81. We don't have that kind of money, she wailed. Anthony just leased a new Audi. The down payment took all his savings. You did this on purpose to sabotage us. The detail about the lease was illuminating. All flash, no cash. He leased a car before taking on his new financial dependent? I asked, raising an eyebrow. That seems like poor planning on his part. She started crying for real then. Please, Matthew, I'll do anything. Just take it back. Tell him you were lashing out. And there it was, the raw truth. She wasn't sorry for the betrayal. She was sorry she got caught. She wasn't sorry for using me. She was sorry that her new benefactor found out the true cost of her upkeep. No, I said, and the calm was back, feeling like a suit of armor. About the PC, it's by the door. You or he can come get it as soon as my bank notifies me of a pending transfer for the full amount. Until then, consider it collateral. Its value has been mentally added to your tab. I closed the door on her sobbing face, turned the deadbolt, and for the first time in days, felt a sliver of peace. Update. The entitlement didn't just knock, it tried to kick the door down with steel-toed boots. The last month has been a masterclass in desperate, dirty tricks. After I closed the door on Lisa, they must have spent a day scheming, because their strategy shifted from pleading to aggression. First came the social media smear. A mutual friend sent me a screenshot from Lisa's private story. It was a teary-eyed selfie captioned, "Finally free from a controlling and financially abusive relationship. Now he's holding my property hostage and trying to extort me for leaving. The truth will come out. So grateful for Anthony for being my rock." A few acquaintances messaged me asking what was going on. For my real friends, the ones who know my character, I sent a two-part response. A screenshot of her text asking for the $4 PC, followed by a screenshot of the $21 spreadsheet. The story died a quick death. Then came Anthony's move. He called me. His tone was a nauseating mix of false bonhomie and condescension. "Matthew, my man," he started. "Look, this whole thing has gotten out of hand. Lisa's a great girl, but she's, a little dramatic. A bit of a mess with money, lol. You know how women can be." I stayed silent, letting the awkwardness hang in the air. "So listen," he continued. "I'm a reasonable guy. This spreadsheet thing, it's a little much, dude. Makes you look obsessed. So how about this? I'll zell you, say $2,000, call it a goodwill gesture. We'll wipe the slate, you drop this crazy act, give us the PC, and we all move on." I almost laughed. "No, Anthony." "No? What do you mean, no? It's a generous offer." "It's an insult. The debt is over $21,000. The PC stays here. By the way, how's the new Audi running? I hear the maintenance on those is a killer." He dropped the friendly act instantly. "You know what, man? You're a vindictive prick. Lisa was right. We're not giving you a damn cent, and we'll be calling the cops to get our PC back." "Okay," I said. "Tell them to send an officer who understands what proof of purchase means. I have it. Do you?" I hung up. The police never came. Instead, a few days later, I got a text from Lisa. "FYI, my uncle is a lawyer and he says what you're doing is textbook extortion and harassment. You have 24 hours to send an email to me and Anthony apologizing and retracting your demand, or we're filing a police report and a lawsuit." I knew her only uncle sold commercial real estate. They were bluffing, and badly. It was time to stop being reactive. It was time to use the system. The revenge part 2, the bureaucracy. The engagement ring, I had completely forgotten about it in the initial chaos. A custom-designed Verragio ring. Value, around $11,000. It legally remains the property of the giver until the marriage contract is fulfilled. I sent a registered letter to her parents' address where I suspected she was staying, formally requesting the immediate return of the ring. No emotion, just a statement of fact, a copy of the receipt, and a deadline. Small claims court. The small claims limit where I live is $10,000. It was perfect. I filed a claim for the maximum amount, citing the 3 largest, most provable loans: the $4,500 car repair, the $3,000 family emergency loan, and the $2,500 business investment. I had the texts, the bank transfer memos. It was an ironclad case. The paperwork was easy to file online. The filing fee was $100. Best money I've ever spent. I had her served at the same address. She now had a non-negotiable court date. The lease. The lease on our apartment was up in 60 days. We were both on it. I went to the management office the day after Lisa left and submitted a formal, notarized letter stating my intent to vacate at the end of the lease term. I was clear that I would not be renewing under any circumstances and that any renewal would have to be a new lease agreement with the remaining tenants. Our building has strict income requirements. Verifiable monthly income must be 3x the rent. The rent is $2,800 per month. Lisa has no job. And as I suspected, Anthony's flashy job is 100% commission. He had one great quarter, which is how he leased the car, but his average income wouldn't pass muster, especially with a co-tenant with zero income. They were in a trap of their own making. I got a call from Lisa's mother. The sweetness from our last conversation was gone. It was replaced by a shrill, entitled rage. She called me cruel, cold-hearted and vindictive for suing her baby girl. I just said, "I'm sorry you feel that way. Perhaps you should have advised her not to commit to debts she couldn't pay while cheating on the man who was supporting her." "The court date is set." I hung up on her mid-shriek. The game was no longer being played on their terms. It was being played on mine, in courtrooms and management offices. And I was winning. Final update. It's over. Not with a bang, but with the slow, satisfying crumbling of a poorly built foundation. The fallout wasn't a single explosion. It was a series of small, crushing defeats that left them with nothing. The first domino was the ring. After the call with Lisa's mother, a small, crushed-looking box arrived by courier. The ring was inside, but when I inspected it, I saw a deep scratch on the main setting, a final, petty act of vandalism. I didn't care. I took it to a jeweler that afternoon and sold it for scrap and the diamond's value. $9,200 went straight into my savings account. Next was the small claims court date. I took a half-day off work, showed up in a suit, and laid out my evidence for the judge. Printed bank statements, screenshots of Lisa's texts where she explicitly called them loans and promised to pay me back. They, of course, were a no-show. The judge took all of 10 minutes to grant me a default judgment for the full $10,000 plus my filing fee. A judgment is a powerful tool. It's a public record. It obliterates your credit score. It can be used to garnish wages and seize assets. Lisa's fresh start now came with a legally enforceable debt that would follow her for years. The final, most spectacular collapse was the apartment. As I knew they would, they tried to renew the lease. A friend in the building told me they saw Anthony in the management office, arguing, trying to sell his income with a single commission check. They were denied. With Lisa's non-existent income and what was now a fresh court judgment on her record, they were untouchable. They were given 30 days to vacate. The moving out process was, from what I heard, a grim spectacle. No moving truck. Just Anthony's leased Audi and Lisa's old Honda, stuffed to the gills with their belongings. A neighbor saw them having a heated argument in the parking garage. Anthony yelling about how this mess was torpedoing his professional image, Lisa sobbing that he was supposed to take care of her. They didn't get a new, trendy apartment together. Lisa, according to a reliable source, her cousin, who hates Anthony, moved back into her childhood bedroom at her parents' house. And Anthony? Anthony's ego, the driving force of this entire saga, couldn't handle the blow. He was all about projecting success. The trophy girlfriend turned out to be a financial and legal liability. A mutual acquaintance ran into him at a work event last week. When asked about Lisa, Anthony apparently scoffed. "Oh, that's over. The girl was a walking disaster. Way too much baggage. Bad for the brand." He then spent the next 10 minutes complaining about how she'd misrepresented her situation and tried to use him. He didn't win the girl. He inherited a problem, and when it became inconvenient, he disposed of it. The ultimate, soulless justice. Lisa wasn't left for love. She was a conquest. And when the prize came with a bill, the winner discarded it. As for me, I moved into a new place downtown. It's smaller, but the view is better. Last week I received the first payment from the wage garnishment against Lisa, who apparently got a part-time job as a hostess. It was for $87.41. It's not about the money anymore. Last night I got one final text from her, from a number I didn't recognize. "Can I at least have the PC? I could sell it for parts. I have nothing." I looked over at my setup, glowing quietly in the corner of my peaceful new apartment. I typed back a single word: no. Then I blocked the number. I launched a game, put on my headset, and for the first time in months, felt nothing but the quiet hum of a well-built machine and the sweet, clean silence of a life that was finally completely my own.